We've all got that one friend, right? You invite them out, you're all excited, and the reply is, well, it's always some version of the same thing. A vague excuse, a last-minute cancellation. You start to wonder, hey, is this about me? But what if it's something way, way deeper?
Ah, yes. In Indonesia, this is the classic. Sorry, I'm just feeling lazy. We've all heard it. And let's be honest, we've all probably used it. It's kind of become the default excuse for getting out of plans. But is lazy really what's going on?
I think we both know there's more to it. Lazy is just such an easy label for a really complex behavior. So today, we're going to peel back that label and get into the real psychology behind why some people are just happier at home.
Now, here's what makes this so fascinating, especially in a place like Indonesia. The culture is built on community. I'm talking about concepts like gotong royong, mutual help, and that really powerful feeling of nggak enak kalau nggak kumpul, which basically means it just feels wrong if we don't all get together. So when someone consistently chooses to stay home, it really stands out.
And that's when the judgments start flying. That person who stays home, they get hit with some pretty harsh labels. They get called ansos, antisocial, or Cooper, which means they have no social life, or even worse, sombong, that they're arrogant. But these labels, they miss the point entirely. So let's get into the real reasons, starting with our first group of homebodies.
All right, first up, recharging a drained mind. We're going to look at 3 types of people who stay home not because they're avoiding life, but because they're trying to recover from a world that's pushed them to their absolute limit.
So let's start with maybe the most common reason, but also the most misunderstood, the introvert. And to get them, you have to understand the social battery. I want you to think of it exactly like your phone battery. For an extrovert, being around people is the charger. It boosts their energy. But for an introvert, socializing is what drains that battery, bar by painful bar.
And this is the introvert's reality. They don't hate people. They can be super charming, incredibly funny, even the life of the party for a while. But after that, their battery is blinking at 1%. For them, home is the power bank. Being alone isn't about being lonely. It's a biological need as crucial as sleep to get back up to 100%. Okay, now this right here is a super important point. People mix up introversion and social anxiety all the time, but they are completely different things. Look, the introvert can socialize. It just drains their energy. The socially anxious person, on the other hand, wants to socialize, but they're just paralyzed by this intense fear of being judged. It's the difference between being tired and being terrified.
And for someone with social anxiety, that fear is real. The outside world can feel like this giant stage where you're constantly being critiqued. In the Indonesian context, this can be even more intense. There's the fear of saltum, wearing the wrong thing. The dread of those probing questions like, so, why are you still single? Or, how much money do you make? Home is the only place they can go, where the spotlight finally turns off.
Okay, our third type in this group is the highly sensitive person, or HSP. Now for them, it's not just about social stuff being draining, it's everything. The best way to think about it is like the world is a radio that's stuck on full volume, and they just can't find the knob to turn it down. It's all about sensory overload.
And just imagine that radio blasting in a place like Indonesia. You've got the roar of those modified motorcycle exhausts, the bass thumping from a neighbor's party, the noise of a super busy coffee shop. For most of us, it's just background noise. But for an HSP, it's a relentless, exhausting assault on the senses. Home is the one place they can finally hit the mute button.
Okay, let's shift gears. Our next group of homebodies are what we'll call the world builders. These are folks who aren't just recovering at home, they are actively and happily creating entire universes within their own 4 walls.
This type? This is your writer, your artist, your programmer, your strategist. They need to be alone, not to escape the world, but to build new things for it. Their mind is like a laboratory, and they need a quiet, controlled space to run their experiments, to connect ideas, and to chase that big breakthrough. To us, it might look like they're just staring at a wall, but inside their head, they are building empires.
And then you've got a group that's super visible but often gets stereotyped, the hobbyist. We're talking about gamers, K-pop fans, people who build intricate models. They stay home for a very simple reason. The world they build inside is often way more interesting and rewarding than the one outside. Finishing a tough quest or perfectly assembling a complex part gives you this real, tangible sense of achievement. Psychologists call it a flow state. And that feeling, it can be so much more satisfying than making small talk at a cafe.
And then we have the pure pragmatist, the anti-hassle person. For them, this decision isn't emotional, it's just math. Before they go out, they run a quick cost-benefit analysis in their head. The costs?
Wasting time in traffic, wasting money on parking, wasting more money on an overpriced coffee. The benefits? Well, a lot of the time, the math just doesn't add up. For them, staying home isn't about being lazy, it's just efficient.
All right, now we come to our final type. And this one, well, this one is probably the deepest, most emotional reason for choosing to be alone. Here, home isn't just a preference, it's a sanctuary.
This is the survivor. This is someone who wasn't born a homebody. They were made one. They learned to love being alone after the outside world let them down, again and again, in a really painful way.
I mean, think about it. These are the people who are just tired. Tired of being the reliable friend who always shows up but gets taken for granted. Tired of being the good listener who never really gets heard. Tired of fighting all their battles in silence. They've looked around and realized that in their friendships, at their job, in their life, they were the only one holding things together.
So for the survivor, home becomes this sacred space for what we can call emotional decompression. It's like their personal emergency room. It's the only place on earth where they can finally stop pretending to be strong, take off the "I'm fine" mask, and just be. It's where the healing actually begins.
And you know, in the end, that's the one thing that connects all 7 of these types. Whether they are recharging a social battery, building an amazing new world, or healing old wounds, home is their ground zero. It's that one place where all the noise of the world finally goes silent, and their mind can finally, truly just breathe.
So it turns out that simple excuse, "I'm just feeling lazy," is actually a much richer, deeper, and more human story than we ever thought. Home isn't just a building we live in, it's a fundamental space that we need. So I'll leave you with this to think about. For you, what is home?